time how violent and negative it is. And a lot of that is really inbred, but that's a whole other story. But who's going to take these youngsters and pull them up and say, you know what, man, I did that 10 years ago, and this is where it's going. You got a chance to get out. I'm probably never going to get out, but listen to my words. Take these to the heart. Get on the right path. Go to school. Get your GED. Get you a trade out here so when you get out there, you can have something to do. Who's going to do that? If they can, you know, there's guys right out here with cases worse than mine, killers, walking around right out here. They're walking around, and they've got me back here on the death sentence for driving a car. So what I'm saying is that you got to give individuals a chance to get out here and reach these youngsters, but who are you going to let do it? And I would tell Perry, let me do that. Let me give you some service. Let me do something for you. Let me do some social betterment. Because they need somebody to talk to them, you know.
You know, you said that you know, people are in a box, that they're in prison. Ironic because you are in one right now. And
this is Jonah in the well. This is Jonah in the well. Metaphorically, this is the stomach that I'm in the beast. Yeah.
Sure. If you were to recommend a sentence for yourself, what would that sentence be?
I'm glad you asked me that question. And I'm going to give you a challenge, and I'm going to give these people a challenge out here. Anybody that's talking about the law of parties, a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are saying it's fair, it's just, that it's a good law. Okay. And they're saying that some people are saying, well, you deserve to die because you should have known. Well, if that's the case, Julius Steen isn't dead. But Julius Steen was given a 35 life sentence for 2 capital murders. I want y'all to think about this now. Okay? They're saying that I deserve to die. I was in the car with 3 men. Okay? The other 2 are serving life sentences. Julius Steen took 35 years for 2 capital murders. A lot of people don't know that. They don't know it was 2 capital murders. He pled out to aggravated robbery. Okay? So, if I'm as guilty for him on 1, then I think I should get half of what Julius Steen got. I think that would be the proper math, so I think I should get half of what Steen got. If Steen can get 35 years for 2 capital murders, and they're saying I'm guilty for 1, then I feel I should get half of what Julius Steen got. If they're saying that what Julius Steen got is justice, and Julius Steen was in the car with me, I feel it's justice that I get half of what he got. By their law, they gave him that sentence. They gave him that. So I'm saying, in the name of the justice that you put on Julius Steen, give me that same justice.
Okay. Okay. Very fair. Very fair. Here's a question. We were thinking just about questions to ask you in our car ride up. We had a 4-hour car ride up here.
We're way out in the boondocks.
That's right. It's true. And so, if you know, if you let me retract here. How do you count your time in prison? How do you, especially with the 2 weeks you have left, how are you going to count your time until that day?
I really don't count it. I just live it. You know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm prepared. I've prepared mind, body, and soul. So instead of me counting it, you know, I just live it. You know what I mean? I just get up and I do what I do. I mean, I've been running kind of the same regime for a long time. You know, I get up, I pray, I study, I read, I write. You know, and that's not going to change. I mean, my daily schedule hasn't changed much. You know, I'm a little bit more busier, you know, with more letters and things like that. But I'm gonna continue to do what I'm doing. And I mean, of course, time is precious. You know, and I'm spending it with my family and doing things like this here because I think a voice needs to be out there. So, I mean, I've been doing this. What you see me doing now, I've been doing it for years. It's just nobody's ever acknowledged it. Nobody's recognized it. I've never had an opportunity to speak out. You know, I've had websites up for years. I've been working with anti-death penalty organizations for years. It's just a lot of people don't know. It's just I got a letter from some random guy. He had sent a message to one of my websites and said, well, when are you going to take responsibility, or when are you going to show remorse for what you did? I said, well, I have. You just haven't seen it. But now, go read the articles, read the newspapers, see the things that my family is doing. You know, and you'll know that these things have existed, but just because you didn't know it exists doesn't mean that it didn't. So, I mean, you know, it's hard. It's not easy looking at a calendar and, you know, you're like, well, you know, it's 2 weeks left. You know, I mean, that's not an easy thing. It's a lot of torture in that. You know, it really is. You know, it's like you got this Grim Reaper that's kind of standing over your shoulder. But, you know, I don't have any fear towards death. I mean, everybody has to die. That's transition is a natural process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not what bothers me. This is what bothers me. What bothers me is the injustice. See, I can deal with dying because we all have to do that. But what I can't deal with is being stuck out for something that they know is wrong and they've seen it on paper, and which a lot of people know is wrong. And that's what bothers me, and that's what fuels me. So, you know, instead of counting them hours, you know, I'm trying to make something happen on each second.
Mm-hmm.
Each day those supporters out there, you know, it's just like this weekend on the 18th. We've got an event going on in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to backdoor and be back in Austin on the 21st. And we're going to keep going, we're going to keep going, you know, and that's what we have to do.
Why rally so hard in Austin?
Austin is really a symbolic place. I mean, it's a political hub. It's a symbol. You know, they've got that big Capitol down there, and the courts are there, the CCA, the Texas Supreme Court, Perry's there. You know, then you got your UT, which has been a real good support for death row. I mean, it's a symbolic place to be. You know, it's just like if we were in Washington D.C. You know, and maybe we need to get to Washington D.C. too real soon, because I think I'm going to be in their courts before too long. But it's the symbolism to it. You know, being where it counts, and that's where it counts. You know, in San Antonio as well, which is why we're going to be there on the 18th. You know, because we've never had anything done in San Antonio before, but we think it's time that they hear the other side of the story. You know, and it's taken a long time to kind of get everybody together. Sometimes there's a little saying that we have back here that sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. You know, and it's kind of gotten to that point to where, you know, a lot of people, they live in doubt. They're like, well, you know, they're in denial about it. So when that date came back in May, they saw how real it was. They said, well, this is it's for real. And I said, well, yeah, I've been trying to tell you, it's been for real for a long time. I've watched over 300 men get executed, over 300, and they're about to pass 400. And that's a lot of killing. That's a lot of people to watch die.
Sure.
So I mean, now they feel it, they see it, and it's pushed them. It's been like a motivator. It's been a mobilizer. So we have to stay visual, because if you don't keep it on the people's minds, if you don't keep it on their faces, they're gonna forget, because they're watching MTV and BET, and they're watching the reality shows, and that's what has their interest, the soap operas.
Right. Speaking of, you know, I was going to ask you, you get about, probably on our air tonight, you get about 5 seconds of people's attention. Okay. To be quite honest, people are flipping the channels.
Okay.
People are looking at MTV, reading their magazines, putting their kids to bed. If you had 5 seconds to tell people that your case is so important, what would you tell people in 5 seconds?
I would tell them that we really have to start paying attention to the laws that are being passed under our noses. We really have to become more involved. We've kind of surrendered our power over to government officials when we're the persons that really make these politicians. We're the ones that make this country. We have to be very careful about what we're allowing to be passed in our name. Law of parties, Jessica Law, you know, Patriot Acts, Guantanamo Bays. And a lot of times when these things get passed, they kind of come back to haunt us. You know, like the Jim Crows and things like this here. Those things have come back to haunt America really, really strong. And they regret it now, because these issues remain, and they always remain. The Emmett Till cases or all these cases. We have to be very careful to what we let be put out in our name. We have to think about that in regards to the law of parties. How far is Texas going to go? And I would say in those 5 seconds, it could be your child. It could be your child who was out on a football night. You know, a football night. I used to go to the parties after the football games. I played football 6 years. They could be out there partying, drinking, and they're with the wrong person. And this person pulls the trigger. And they'll get an overzealous prosecutor, a young guy. He's trying to come up in the ranks. So he says, you know what? I'm going to slam these guys. We're going to make a statement. And it's election time too. So we're really going to push this case. It could be your kid, you know, that's in the car with somebody. Or it could be your kid doing a beer run, you know, and I think a lot of probably folks out there are probably guilty of beer runs, you know, and then something happens. The clerk comes around and tries to stop the guy, and a tussle happens, and you don't even have to shoot him. You could just push him down, and he hit his head on the counter. They could do something with that. They could say, well, law of parties, you drove the car. You should have anticipated that was going to happen. Is that sensible? Is the law of parties sensible? Is anticipation sensible? See, Texas isn't even in line with what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court said, man,